to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
That's right. Welcome, Forgers. You're listening to Heroes Forge. This is Season 3, Episode number 115 of a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm, where we make things up one hero kit at a time. As always, this podcast is brought to you by our outstanding supporters on patreon.com/HeroesForge. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show who is more awesome than a beer on the beach. It's Kristen, Ashton.
What about ham? Did you ever bring ham or cold turkey to the beach? We would bring lunch meat. Mom would pack this cooler, and it was great.
Yeah, as riveting as ham compared to beer sounds, I think I'll stick with the beer. I mean, but you're legally allowed to have ham on the beach. You are not legally allowed to have an open container of beer on the beach. So you are more in the, within the law.
That's true, but that begs the question, Jeff. What's your favorite legal container to put illegal substances in? We've all done it.
All right, so here's the deal with the beach out here. One time, I had this, you're going to like this, I had this Avengers plastic water bottle that I filled up with the alcohol and took it to the beach, and then we just had cups of, like, juice or whatever, ice, people are just thinking, so we just had this Avengers bottle, and of course, drink after drink, it became more of Avengers Assemble every time we decided to pull from the Avengers bottle, and everybody had a great time.
I am so sad. That's never happened in my life. But I love that it became Avengers Assemble. So did you pass around rolls, or was it simply the call went out and everyone assembled?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we were coherent enough to create roles or if we cared enough to. It was less about saving the world and more about taking a swig.
Answering the call
right.
When it came. That is being a responsible, mature adult.
Absolutely. And you know what? Playing video games. You can still be a responsible, mature adult and play video games, obviously, until Deckard Cain comes out. And then I think all of that is thrown to the wind, and you're just going to be playing a whole bunch of Deckard Cain. What do you think, Kristen? What are your first thoughts, first impressions?
I'm glad they brought him. I'm so glad they brought him. And I'm really excited with what they've done to his kit, because they've answered not one, but two of the things we've been calling for so long. The first, the teammates get to heal themselves. They get to choose if they heal themselves. You throw those bottles on the ground and, if they pick them up, they do. And the other one is that fortitude of the faithful, the trait where when you're nearby allies, you get a buff.
Yep.
So there's strength in numbers. It's amazing.
Yeah. Okay. I have to say, I was so stoked, like out of my chair stoked, when I heard the allies heal themselves, basically. Like, here's the tool. I'm Deckard Cain. I'm going to give you the tool. You do it yourself, okay? So I know that it relies a lot on Deckard placing them in the right places and all that kind of thing, and there is a lot of skill required in that, but it is in your hands a little bit more than it has been in the past. And then, of course, being near your allies. Come on, I'm going to get out of Silver League with Deckard Cain. I tell you, I am. People, whether I'm playing him or other people are playing him, we're going to be together more. There's going to be more coherency in the teams with the voice chat. Diamond, here I come.
Heck yeah. And which heroic do you think you're going to main?
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up, because I do have a beef. As fanboy-ish as I am, I do have a beef. And you can tell me if I'm in the right or not. So, I don't know why, but Deckard Cain is like a super serious character for a majority of what he does. I know that in Diablo they have, the funny little journal entries and things like that, but basically he's the narrator of like the most demonic story that could ever be told about all of the stuff that's happening, right? And when they announced him, I don't know, I kind of got a little sad that they took a really, really big Nexus joke take on Deckard Cain, where I wanted him to be a little bit more serious, but maybe that's just the darkness talking.
It's always the darkness talking. I mean, you can't... I see where you're coming from, though, and maybe that's what happens, though, when you go to the Nexus, because Kel'Thuzad, right? He was a human who died, who was resurrected, became a lich, and there's a lot of kitty stuff around there, right? So maybe the seriousness will be in the voice lines, and that you can set it up to be as serious as possible and never choose Lornado.
Yeah, or stay a while and listen. I mean,
so you don't like either of these heroics.
I mean, I don't dislike the gameplay wise. Gameplay wise, they're awesome, right? I mean, that's a cool thing to be able to, you know, have a ETC mosh pit and a cone in front of you. I mean, that's awesome, right? Well, it's not exactly a mosh pit, right? Because they're sleeping, so they can be woken up from their sleep. So it is a little different. But yeah, I don't know. I was just like, okay, I get it, and I do get it. Maybe I'm just being really negative about this, but I get it. It's just like, stay a while and listen is a big joke ability. Lornado is a big joke ability. Like, give him some artifacts. Give him some stuff that's in Diablo. Give him, like, this all-powerful book that, like, you know, does something. It can do the same exact thing, but maybe the angle that you take is a little different. But that's the angle they went, and I'm still going to play him, like, crazy. But, you know, that's just my thoughts.
Totally. And maybe they're trying to balance it out with him chucking healing potions on the ground, right? And all of the backstory that fans have kind of created. But I totally get where you're coming from. It's kind of like Alex. She's a red dragon, and her battle lines are, I will heal you.
Yeah.
You're a red dragon. In red dragons are supposed to be evil.
Yeah.
Why? But it's cool, and it works, and she's strong, and it's fantastic. But yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, and it's going to work. And, you know, a majority of the people that play this game, maybe not a majority, but a large amount of people who play this game don't know who Deckard Cain is. You know, they're going to think, that's the old guy in Heroes of the Storm. Like, that's how they're going to know Deckard Cain. And maybe a majority is a really bad statement to say. A lot of people that play this game. So if that's what they think, then that's the direction that they're going. And speaking of Heroes of the Storm lore, I hear some people dishing out some not so positive comments about the lore that they're going to be bringing out with the comics and stuff, and I'm jazzed.
That seems ridiculous to me. Not the fact that they're doing comics, not the fact that they're going full lore. They've done that with Overwatch and everything, and it's paid off. I mean, people eat up these novels and stuff, and that's where I'm confused. The people getting negative about it, are these the same ones who buy every Christie Golden novel that releases and will show up in chat and poo-poo you because you didn't go with X because X happened 15,000 years ago, according to the most recent iteration of the lore?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be interested, and I'm super interested to read about it. I'm really interested to read about the Raven Lord, Gravekeeper stuff. That's what we've been asking for on this show for 2.5 years or whatever. You know what? We want to see it, so I'm excited to see that. I think that'll be really cool. A lot of great stuff came out of PAX East. A lot of Warcraft news. A lot of other things coming out there. Make sure you check out Blizzard's official site for more information on all this cool stuff that was released. And I do not think we will have to wait long for Deckard Cain. I think he's looking like he's coming in the next couple weeks to the PTR at least, so bring it on.
Oh, totally. His talents are already there. I was stunned with how quickly the talents were released. But, you know, you have to have more announcements at PAX, so it makes sense you do, here's who's coming out, and then if you want to do the deep dive, here's the entire kit and how we're thinking it's supposed to work with the entirety of the game.
Yeah, and it was very cool to see Jeff Kanata, who hosts on one of the shows on Amove Into the Nexus, out there giving Into the Nexus a huge shout out in front of the PAX East crowd and the, you know, thousands of people that are watching worldwide. Grats Into the Nexus. That's pretty awesome that you got to be on that big stage in so many words. So that's very, very cool. What are the games you playing this week, Kristen? You playing a lot of Heroes recently, or you playing something different?
I've been playing some Heroes, and I got to take Phoenix out for a test drive, and man, he's so much fun. I didn't think I would have as much fun with gun switching as I did. I mean, that probably took the longest to get down, aside from the donut. I am no good with the donut because I get excited. I hit somebody with my laser, and then I run up to them. You're not supposed to do that, Kristen. I know, I can't help it.
Do you take the talent that is the when you weapon switch to the orb, it slows enemies when they're hit, and then you can take the second talent, which increases your donut damage if they're slowed?
Yes, but that's if I can get that donut right. And the funniest thing is that I didn't realize with the donut, you set how large it is. So I'm out there testing my abilities, and I'm playing with my sister and my brother-in-law, and all of a sudden my donut's tiny, and I'm going, why is my donut tiny? What happened? What happened? And they're going, calm down. It's okay. You can set the size.
Yeah. Hey, that's part of learning a new hero. That's why it's so fun, though. I mean, think about it. All those times you pick up a new game and you're out there playing it and you're figuring it all out. The most fun usually happens in the first 6 hours of playing the game. So we get that feeling with Heroes of the Storm often, and Phoenix is no different. Maybe he's going to see some nerfs soon. I think the Hot Slog's win rate is over 63% or something crazy yesterday. So who knows?
Yeah, we lost only one game that entire night, and we always had a Phoenix on our team. What about you? Any epic Heroes matches?
Yeah, I've been playing a lot of Team League with my buddies, which has been really fun. Getting in there and trying Phoenix, of course. I haven't played Maiev yet, so Maiev is going to be my next thing. I'm a hero behind here because I'm like, assassins. So I'm going to play some Maiev, and that'll be really fun. I've been diving into other games, though. I've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves, Vermintide 2. Those games have been really, really fun. And then I've been playing some games on Tabletop Simulator. Do you know Tabletop Simulator?
I've heard of it, but I haven't actually tried it out.
It's something you can download from Steam. I don't know how much it costs because I got it so long ago. And then people create mods of tabletop games like Settlers of Catan and these games that we play as board games with friends. And then you can go in there with other friends that have Tabletop Simulator and you can play these board games. And it's all like Steam Workshop stuff. So I don't want to say... I mean, it's free. You buy the game and then people mod it out, and then, the games are in there and you can download a whole bunch of different games and subscribe to them. So I've been playing a lot of Tabletop Simulator and playing some crazy fun games that I never knew existed. And it's just rekindled my flame for board games and this like board game interaction. I don't know about you, Kristen. I've never talked to you about this, actually. Do you enjoy playing board games with friends?
It depends on the friends. That's what it comes down to. I enjoy many types of games, but in the end it really comes down to who the group is, because there are those that tend to get very emotional while learning a new game, and the fun immediately gets sucked out of the room when they get upset because they mess something up, instead of going, oh, okay, that's just part of it, laughing and moving on.
Yeah, totally. I get it. I have a few friends that are like that too. They're just passionate people, right? They want to get out there, just want to play their best. And we picked up this board game. Apparently, it is the best board game in the world for 2017. It was called Gloomhaven. It was a Kickstarter game. It's like this crazy game that takes... it's a full-on fantasy campaign game with... I sound like a salesperson for this game because I love it so much. It was so fun. It's got these big boards that you pull out and you customize the game based on what happens to you and your party as you play through like 13 epic campaigns, and you have this map, and every time you go to some place in the map or in the world, you put these stickers on the map that show you've been there. You get achievements, you get all this crazy stuff, so you can play that on Tabletop Simulator, and it's been a blast.
That's fantastic, because Gloomhaven, that's that big one that's, what, $500 or something? I don't know if it's actually $500, but is that the one that comes with all the miniatures and everything, too?
Yeah, it has a bunch of stuff in there. I've watched a bunch of playthroughs on YouTube to figure out how to play this actual game because it's so hard. And we have yet to beat the first campaign. We can't complete it because it's that hard, and that makes it fun, right? It's got that Dark Souls feel like I talk about all the time, so... That's just another game that we've been playing. But let's do what we're here to do. Let's talk about Heroes of the Storm, and let's forge.
Let's forge.
That's right. If this is your first time listening to the show, we do more than just talk about other games. We mostly talk about Heroes of the Storm and what heroes aren't in the game yet and what they might be like if we brought them in to Heroes of the Storm. So this is just a fun theory crafting podcast all about that. So Kristen, this week, who are we forging on the show?
Well, this week, like I was telling you earlier, Jeff, we are forging somebody that I was surprised we hadn't taken on yet, Lady Vashj.
That's right, and I had to do the same thing that you did and go to the website and look through all of our different heroes that we forged to see if Lady Vashj was even on there. I couldn't remember or not, because I know we've done Naga, we did Queen Azshara at one point, but Lady Vashj is a huge character in the Warcraft lore. I mean, all the way back to, I believe, Warcraft 3, so maybe something that we'd see in the Nexus someday.
Maybe. I mean, I'm interested to go back and see how many heroes we've forged that have made it into the Nexus. See what our batting rate ratio is.
Yeah, with Deckard Cain coming out, I think it's getting higher. I mean, we've done a bunch of the ones that we think should be on the top of their, as Blizzard always says, 300, 500 plus heroes lists that they have, quote unquote, in development or thinking about. We've forged a bunch of ones that have made it into the Nexus, and I think Lady Vashj eventually will. I think that the Naga silhouette is a very unique look that isn't in the game yet, and so that might be a jumping off point for Blizzard to say, oh, this is a cool silhouette that's not an orc, that's not a human, that's not a humanoid in that sort of way. I mean, she is a humanoid, right?
I think so. She's got a human face.
Yeah.
I assume if it's got a human face, it's a humanoid.
Yeah, same type of thing, but like a fish lady, Naga. I mean, if you play World of Warcraft or Warcraft 3, you know what the Naga are. So, but Lady Vashj is not just any Naga; she is an important Naga. So, Kristen, fill us in a little bit on the intro for Lady Vashj.
Will do. A highborne elf, Lady Vashj served Queen Azshara as the foremost handmaiden, going so far as to copy the beautiful leader's fashion and hair. After the War of the Ancients, she was sent down to the depths with her queen and transformed into a Naga sea witch. 10,000 years following this, she emerged to answer Illidan's call, helping him first garner favor with Kael'thas Sunstrider, then aiding in the defeat of Magtheridon in Outland. Once their power had been established over the broken world, Lady Vashj led her followers to Serpentshrine Cavern in a bid to control the waters and its people. Unfortunately, victory was not to be hers. Adventurers uncovered her plot and brought her death.
That's right. And, Naga played a huge part in Burning Crusade, right? We see Naga often in the game. You go through World of Warcraft and you do see Naga going around there, and it's interesting to know that they were at one point night elves.
Yes, and not only regular night elves, either highborne, the elite class.
Yeah, and then, as most stories in these worlds go, they got kicked off their pedestal.
Exactly, kicked off their pedestal, banished. And this begs the question, why... I mean, I get it. If you're a good guy, you're not just going to completely massacre the entire highborn population. But didn't they even consider the fact that if they didn't massacre the highborn, the banishment wouldn't last?
Maybe. I mean, maybe they didn't, but that would also be a trope, right? Like, oh, there you go. You're out of here and we'll never see you again. Little did they know that they did come back and destroy everything that they had once held dear.
Exactly. So it's a perfect thing. Either way, someone's coming back. You can't banish that forever.
That is the tagline to all Blizzard games. It just says whatever the Blizzard game is, and then underneath it, either way, someone's coming back.
I love it. That's perfect. Especially with this recent Burning Legion. Oh man, either way, everyone's coming back.
Yeah, that's
Varian
right.
too. I'm calling it Battle for Azeroth. Varian's gonna show up again.
Oh man, in some way, I hope it doesn't show up like some fel-infused Varian where you're like, oh well, somebody picked up all the Varian puzzle pieces off the broken shore and glued it together with Elmer's glue, and now he's out there and you have to fight him in the first raid.
But then what's worse to you? That or he's around in ghost form, continually just chatting with people. Not respectful ghost form like the original Star Wars trilogy. We're talking full on, he just shows up and starts chatting with people.
Yeah, there was almost a cringe moment when Anduin found his father's sword on the burning in the Broken Isles and saw his dad's sword, and then had a flashback of his dad like telling him that a king must do what a king must do and whatever like that. So that was almost a cringe moment there. It was like right on the cusp. If they bring him back, I don't know. I'd rather fight him in a raid.
Okay, so you'd rather have pieces glued together, Elmer glue, than Ghost Man.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure we know.
Absolutely, that's exactly where I would land. Anyway, back to Lady Vashj, because that's how this whole thing got started here. Let's talk about what she would be like if she decided to join up in the Nexus. And who knows where the lore of the Nexus is going, who knows? But maybe we would see Lady Vashj someday, and what would she be like? Let's make it up. Kristen, you get to go first this week, if you'd like. And the first thing we'll start with is role classification. So rock and roll, what role are you picking?
I'm going with assassin. I think she shoots arrows, and I think, well, actually, not most ladies who shoot arrows are assassins in the Nexus. They're not. Tyranda's a support. Sylvanas is a specialist. We have Vala.
That's right. Different kind of arrows, though, right? Little mini hand crossbows. So
Exactly.
So yeah, maybe the first female assassin with arrows. I'm racking my brain. I can't.
I mean,
think of anything.
Hanzo's got the bow and arrow, but he's not a girl.
Yeah.
So yeah, so maybe, right? Maybe she's the first full bow and arrow, but I offer a difference with this one with my trait, which I'm calling split shot. And so Lady Vashj, she's going to fire off some basic attack arrows equal to the number of enemy heroes within her range. So if there's only one, she's only shooting one arrow. If there are three, she's shooting 3 arrows at once. So the more arrows, however, the less damage they'll do overall. This will also have a really cool animation effect based on how close the enemies are. If they're close enough, she'll poke at them with a dagger like she does in Serpentine Cavern. And if they're far enough away, she'll shoot them with arrows. And since she's got 6 arms, I totally think this is something she could do.
Yeah, so she's doing them at the same time.
Yes.
That is so cool. Oh man, that must be an animation nightmare though. I mean, because I'm sure. Okay, let's take Genji for example. Right now in the Nexus has his ranged attack. Right, he can throw his what are they called, shurikens at the enemy from a distance. But if they get close enough, he pulls out his sword and he's using his samurai sword to do the deed. So the thought here is that there are 2 zones. Well, if you brought something like this into the game, there would be 3 zones. Because there would be the ranged attack, the melee attack, and then the range / melee attack animation. And how would that work? I mean, but it would be so cool.
Oh, I love it. I mean, you got to put those arms to work, right? You got to put those arms to work. And she totally switches in the raid back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. And this is a really cool idea based on how many enemies are in the area for her. She's firing more basic attacks, right? So with a hero like Deckard Cain on the opposite team, who's going to be wanting to group up with his enemy, Lady Vashj could be a counter to that. Exactly.
And if we're going with kind of like an ease of attack creep, how easy would that be on your auto attackers, where it's just going to automatically target those that are in your range and every enemy hero that's in your range?
Yeah. You know what? That makes me think of something really weird that I haven't thought of before. I wonder if we went back the last year of Heroes, and maybe I'll do this week coming up, and looked at the difficulty rating that Blizzard gives all of the heroes that they've released in the last year. What's your guess on the spectrum of from very easy to very hard? I would guess that most of them would fall closer to the hard realm than the easy realm.
Oh, that's a good. I think for numbers, they would fall mostly medium. But as for difficulty, I think they're getting pretty specialisty in that there are so many nuances in comparison to previous heroes that you need to spend a lot of time. I mean, Genji, for instance, I know he's not new. He's been around for long enough, but at the same time, he eludes me unless I were to spend at least 2 weeks dedicated to learning his kit.
Yeah. No, I agree. 100%. Yeah, that's an interesting thing that I'll have to look into and let you guys know what to find out. Awesome trait. Awesome trait. I love it. Mounting.
Mounting, I think she would raise her arms up. A tidal wave would rise up underneath her little snake body and then carry her forward wherever she wants to go.
So like the Summer of Heroes surfboard, but without the surfboard.
Exactly. And I mean, she's kind of a waterbender in that sense, too. So if we wanted to work in some of Katara's moves, we could do that as well.
I love it. I'm down. This wave idea is really cool. That is one thing, though, that if they brought her into the game and they gave her a mount that was a wave, I would want it to be less cartoony. Like, it fit in really well with Summer of Heroes, right? It was this funny thing. We got water guns, Tracer's running around, Tychus has got his, fully automatic water gun that he's shooting people with, and these waves look good and cartoony for that. But I would want her wave to almost be like a little more realistic, maybe a little more scary looking.
Dude, that would be incredible. And maybe instead of cute little starfish and stuff, there are shadows of creatures from the deep. And you wouldn't even need to create creatures of the deep. I don't know if you guys have ever actually looked at pictures of the animals that live down there. You just sketch those out and put their silhouettes and you got yourself a nightmare.
That's right. It's like Finding Nemo, when they go down there and see the anglerfish or whatever. Scary stuff. Very cool idea for a mount. Let's get into some basic abilities here for your assassin. What's your first one?
Okay, so the first one, what if, I'm calling it electric shock, because what if you could switch between basic attack damage and spell damage? So this would allow for that. Basically, I mean, the Phoenix W switch. Lady Vashj infuses her arrows with the power of electricity, giving them spell damage until she switches back.
Very cool. So this is empowering your basic attacks.
Yes, it's you're not gaining more damage. Pardon my my noises. I apparently have to add sound effects to my thinking. But it's the same amount of damage, but it's a different type of damage. So if you choose Lady Vashj into heroes with basic attack protection armor, you can switch and mainly use spell damage against them. Or what if you're going toe-to-toe with a Nubarak? You won't want spell damage. You're going to want basic attack. So this would make her, I think, a lot more useful in many different situations.
Cool, yeah. The total multi-damage ability would be really helpful and kind of open up the opportunities where she can be chosen in a draft, right? Is that what you're thinking?
Exactly. And it wouldn't really matter what type of tank you're up against or what type of bruisers you're up against, right? Bruisers are always the more challenging ones for me.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, but you play a bruiser, Kristen. You play a lot of Sonya, and that's like the creme de la creme of bruisers.
Well, apparently she was until I came back to a nerf. And so instead of my 3 heals, when I take my power against Mercenary Camp, it's just 2.
Uh-oh.
And yeah, I haven't touched her in a few days.
You'll get back on that. I know. You're good at all the other stuff, not just that. So, yeah, there'll be more Sonya play coming in your future, I'm sure. Okay, second basic ability to go along with electric shock.
All right, second one I'm calling Bloody Fast. And this is an activatable ability that only comes online when Vashj has dealt enough damage. Filled with the lust for the blood she's drawn from her enemies, she can activate this to sprint and attack faster. Minions and mercenaries do count, but only for a fraction of what a hero has to offer.
Okay, cool. This is a cool take on like Vala's hatred, right?
Exactly.
So you're giving her like a what's the best way to describe this? Kind of like a thrall trait, or maybe even a Leoric sort of trait indicator where you can see how close you are before, this bloody fast peaks at its target, and then it activates. You can see exactly before you do it. So are you thinking that there are times in the battlefield where you're like, I am 2 attacks away from activating this W ability or having enough power to activate it. I'm going to wait before I get into a team fight and just kind of store this up and then run into the team fight, do 2 attacks, and then during that fight, Bloody Fast comes on.
Totally. Kind of like grabbing 16 before a team fight too, right? Or Thrall's his healing trait, right? If you plan for that stuff, you can just be a terrifying force when you do show up.
Totally, yeah, and you can see these pro players, like, you know, even with Leoric and stuff, they know exactly what swing on their basic attack they want to go into a team fight with. So maybe they'll just, like, go off into the distance for a second, hit a couple minions, get on the swing that they want to give them just that little hair percentage more advantage when they jump into the battle. They just jump right in and then swing away right with their very powerful first attack.
Yeah, exactly. So it would add, you can make her more powerful based on how skilled you are with her. Your ability for foresight, I guess.
Love it. So cool. Yeah, moving up the difficulty meter with things like this. I like it. How about your third basic ability?
All right, and the third one is stoned because she's a snake hair lady. With snakes in her hair, Lady Vashj is most definitely a callback to the most famous snake-haired lady of them all, Medusa. Lady Vashj can turn on her charms to freeze the bodies of any enemy caught in her gaze. Now, this is going to be kind of cool. So she's going to do a cone. And as they move closer to her in this cone attack, they are slowed more and more until they turn into stone entirely. So it's kind of a timed ability. The longer you stay in this gaze, the slower you go until eventually you're turned into stone.
Nice. So it doesn't matter what direction you're facing. So if you're actually moving away from her, but you're in the cone, you're still affected by the slow. And if you can't get out of the cone fast enough, even if you're moving away, you still could get stunned.
Exactly.
Oh, that's cool. I love it. So you thinking you could use this offensively and defensively then?
Yeah, pardon me. Yes, totally. And then if you pair it with the bloody fast, you could absolutely keep somebody in the line of sight, even if they happen to have a speed boost of some sort.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is such a cool idea. Like, what are you seeing? So you see these like snake, are the snakes part of it? Like, do they come up and like send out, you know, like Medusa waves that make this happen? She's screaming. What does it look like?
Oh gosh, that's such a great question because there are so many ways Medusa has been done. Personally, I want the snakes to be really involved in this. I think they should totally come up and maybe shoot beams from their eyes, and she's shooting beams from her eyes, and they merge into this collective beam.
Awesome. So cool. Great. Well, speaking of cool, let's talk about some heroics. What's your first heroic moving forward?
All right, first one is called Tethered. Lady Vashj calls forth 4 pillars that cocoon her in a shield that makes her invulnerable. This energy draws from the deep a number of water elementals that make their way to her. If they reach, they power her up, adding damage to her attacks. When the ability ends, a fraction of this power that she gained will remain as a permanent buff. While the pillars can't be destroyed, though, the summoned minions can.
Love this. This is exactly from her fight in World of Warcraft, and we're going to have a great minds moment because I think this is something that happens in WoW a lot that we don't have in Heroes of the Storm, right? I mean, there are tons of times when you're playing Warcraft with friends and you're in a raid or you're in a dungeon or whatever it is, and these summons or the ads will pop up and they start making their way towards the boss. And everybody in the raid is saying, take out the ads, because if they make it to the boss, it empowers the boss, and then the boss does more, and then everybody gets mad because you were the one that didn't take out the ad, all that stuff. So why not bring something like that to Heroes of the Storm? I think that's such a cool idea. This is going to be my next soapbox after having people heal themselves.
Exactly, and we got that. We got the people healing themselves, so now we're right on to this next one. And I guess the biggest question, though, is how do you do it so that Lady Vashj can't just pop this every time it's on cooldown? But, you know, pop it in the woods somewhere where no one can stop her minions, and suddenly she's got all of this attack power. Maybe it's a cooldown increase. Maybe you have to be within range of an enemy hero. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna sidebar that because I think I'll talk about that a little bit when we get to my kit. But this is such a cool cool heroic that really feels like Lady Vashj. I mean, it's really, really cool. Okay, how about your second heroic?
All right, well, you thought that one felt like Lady Vashj. Let's bring in the Tainted Core. I think the favorite, and I think you can actually move now if you have a Tainted Core, but back in the day, you couldn't move when you held the Tainted Core. So Vashj tosses one to one of her enemies, and it locks them in place. However, the enemy can toss this core to one of their teammates, allowing them to reposition and choose who is going to be the sitting duck.
Need. This is so cool. This feels like raid tier mechanics here. What if something like this existed, right? So she puts even if you take Vashj out of the scenario entirely, let's say one hero becomes cursed and they can't move. They can't get rid of it, and let's say it lasts for an extraordinary amount of time. Let's say it's a 10-second curse, right? If that person had the ability to transfer the curse, but only to their friendly heroes, and then so on and so forth. So let's say they transfer it to Morales, and then Morales could transfer that to somebody else, and then so on until the cooldown of that ability is completed, and you're still targetable and everything while you hold this curse. That's exactly what you're talking about here, and I think that that would be at least a really fun brawl.
Totally, and then you'd get rage levels equal to that of raid levels. I mean, could you imagine the voice chat? That would make voice chat even more imperative, actually.
Yeah. Pass it to me, I'm safe, pass it to me, oh, I gotta pass it to you, like back and forth. What if there was a map that had something like this, right? Like a League of Explorers map or whatever, and you pick up the idol, and the idol actually locks you in place, and you could pass it to your friendly teammates, and if you pass it, you have to score it in like your satchel that's back at the core or something like that. That'd be really fun. This is a really cool idea, Kristen.
Thanks. Yeah, and I love your idea that you could make this into a brawl, right? Test it in the brawl phase first, because what have we seen with the brawl? They brought back the PvE. And I think everybody's doing this brawl because these PvEs are amazing.
Yep, I think they're testing the waters with this PvE content stuff, and I think that it's getting a huge response. People want to make it into an esport. I'm reading on Reddit. People want to talk about speed runs. People want to do all this stuff. Yeah, this is an untapped market for Heroes of the Storm. I think that they're going to jump into, just like we said before BlizzCon, before even the first PvE brawl was out. We were talking about at BlizzCon, we were saying, I want more PvE content. I want to be able to play with my friends against NPCs. Man, keep bringing it, Blizzard, because it's getting a positive response, and we like it.
Yeah, I'm certainly playing all of the PvEs that come out.
Super fun. Great kit, Kristen, for Lady Vashj. If you had to sum it all up, how would you do that?
Go with the classic with this one. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink.
That's right. Hey, water is life. And so Lady Vashj is death.
Every time you say that, I think water is the essence of life, and I'm taken to Zoolander. And I really, when I hear that, want to give Lady Vashj a Zoolander mermaid skin.
Is it an unpopular opinion to think that the original Zoolander film was actually good?
Oh, heavens no. I mean, I could recite that one line for line. But I also understand that I have very strange tastes a lot of the time. So being able to recite that one and Austin Powers, I don't really bring that up in conversation.
We are products of our generation, Kristen. I do believe so. All right, before we move on to my kit, we have some people that we need to thank, as always. First and foremost, we need to thank all of the people that support this show on patreon.com/HeroesForge. We could not do the show without your guys' support, so thank you so much for bringing us back week after week. If you too would like to become a supporter, this is the one way that you can help support the show. Head on over to patreon.com/HeroesForge and throw us a buck or two to help keep this show rolling, and we have some awesome goals that we're working towards to bring you even more content. Again, it's patreon.com/HeroesForge. Also, a huge shout out to everybody that's given us a 5-star review on their favorite podcasting app of choice. When you do that, it helps our show up with all of those other amazing Heroes of the Storm shows. When people type in Heroes of the Storm in their favorite podcasting app. So thank you for everyone that has done that. That is really, really awesome. Also, thank you to everybody that joins us in chat live every Sunday at 12 noon Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV, throwing in some awesome ideas as we continue forging week after week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, we're moving on to my kit here, and I also went with Assassin, and my Assassin trait is going to sound a little familiar to one of Kristen's heroics, so we're going from heroic to trait level here, so it's a little different. It's called More. So in this kit, Lady Vashj will be a burst assassin that will get stronger and stronger during the battle. When this trait is activated, a water elemental will spawn a good distance away from Lady Vashj and begin moving towards her. This elemental will not attack, but instead be traveling in a straight line to Lady Vashj to empower her attacks. If the elemental reaches her, she will gain a damage buff for the rest of the game. It is the enemy's job to destroy these elementals before they reach her. It's important to note that in order to summon the elemental, Lady Vashj needs the energy from an enemy hero, so she can only channel this when the enemy hero is nearby. This damage buff stack and can make Lady Vashj very powerful if not kept in check early in the battle.
I like this. I like how this is built into the basic kit because that's the feel, right? You've got to stop this every time. And if you can't stop it, you messed up. Fundamentally, you have ruined the game.
Yeah, and I want that, like we talked about before. Our new soapbox on the show. Thank you, Blizzard, for giving us the heal yourselves stuff. I love it. I hope it works out. Let's bring in more raid mechanic feels like this kind of thing. And maybe it is you fight Lady Vashj in a PvE scenario where you've got to do stuff like that. I mean, we've seen it in the current PvE stuff. There's some really fun raid type things. And so being a fan of that stuff, I think this is where something like this fits in. As for mounting, I thought that she would have a Naga War seahorse. So it would be a seahorse, but all armored up. And maybe it's got like, you know, barnacle armor, total Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest kind of armor thing.
Okay, cool. So maybe it's like a skeletal seahorse too or something.
Sure.
Because in no way is this not adorable. Seahorses, they're so cute. I mean, and if you've ever... They're tiny, too. I mean, I can't not want a seahorse mount.
Yeah, and it kind of works because, I mean, they have a like a serpent lower half. So maybe she, like, wraps the serpent part of her tail around the seahorse as it moves. You know, like, that's what's controlling it moving forward in the battle or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, totally. And then you can make the face very dragon-like or something. So it's really wicked to look at. And then the armor, can add really angry eyes or something. Would it breathe fire? I mean, what else could you do to this thing?
I don't know. It depends on the tints, right? Maybe it's like an elemental thing. So, you know, the normal elemental stuff. Although I'm getting a little tired of that. I'm getting a little tired of the elemental bear, elemental wolf. So, I mean, how do you feel about it?
Honestly, I ride around on clouds all the time, so I think it's adorable. And I love the Zerg that they just released. But yeah, I've never been one for elemental stuff. But I've never really played shamans or anything. So it's kind of that paladin thing. I've never really played a paladin. I've never really played a shaman. So I simply don't understand the appeal.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about some basic abilities on my kit here. This first one is called Electric Crash. So Lady Vashj will call on a massive lightning strike to hit the ground in a select location, dealing a large amount of damage to the target that is hit. This ability has a circle landing zone with even a smaller circle, and I'm talking it's a very small circle inside of it. If the enemy is hit and is inside of the smaller circle, they will have an image of their current screen burned on their display for a short amount of time that will soon fade back to the normal view. So we've all played these games, right? Where you open the door or a flashbang comes in, brightens up your screen and leaves it like that for a second, even though you're still moving and you're still looking around. So this is what I wanted to do with this electric crash, is if you happen to be in that tiny little circle in the very middle of the lightning, that happens to you like a flashbang on your display.
Oh, that's sick. That's such a great thing. I think your second soapbox is altering the tech and the way the game interacts with you. Because we have blinds, right? you get the little cap on your head from Dahaka, and suddenly you're going to the team. Tell me what direction to go. Tell me what direction to go.
Yeah.
But with this, it's the same thing, but it's really cool because who doesn't like the blinding flashbangs? And as for imagery, is she the one casting this lightning down? Is it coming from her, or does she summon to the sky and then it comes down from the clouds?
Yeah, there's probably like a, old gods kind of feel to it where she's not really doing it. She's like calling upon it to happen, and then it comes striking down and hits the ground wherever she decides it's going to go. That's really where I want the burst aspect of her to come into this play. So it also builds into the second basic ability, which is called Static Charge. So Static Charge is an ability that will allow her to channel the electricity in the air and concentrate it on an enemy. Affected enemies will be statically charged and will periodically shock their teammates when they are near them on the battlefield. If they are affected by this static shock and then hit with the Q, Electric Crash, the damage will be increased and deal an astronomical blow, but it will also remove the static charge immediately. So it's like a living bomb, right? But a continuous living bomb. You're running around the battlefield, and if you rubbed a balloon on too many people's heads, and all the static charge is like zapping your friends for little bits amounts of damage. But the combo here is hit somebody with the static charge, they run into somebody else and it charges them like a living bomb, and then send the lightning strike down, smite them.
Gotcha. Okay, so how long does static charge last, and how long then do you have to get the Q off?
I just think living bomb timers, right? Like I'm really living in a living bomb world here.
Aren't we all? No, but this is great, and this would make her really powerful against teams that need to group up.
Yeah, isn't that funny that we both came up with ideas like that right after Deckard Cain came out and was like, everybody group.
Well, I mean that maybe that speaks to what we see during the week, right? My gun switching from Phoenix, and then the group up with Deckard. We got to be able to counter this stuff, and Lady Vashj is how we beat the Cain.
That's right. Beat the Cain. Next basic ability on my kit is called Tectonic Plates. So when this is activated, Lady Vashj will be able to place an invisible activatable area on the battlefield. When a hero comes into contact with this invisible area, they will not be able to pass through it for a short amount of time. And this is revealed as a fault cracking up from the battleground floor. After a small amount of time, the wall will fall down, allowing heroes to pass through it once more. So it's basically a combination of like a mini Tassadar wall and a chromie time stop, whatever that really annoying thing is that you can't see. So you run into a chromie time stop thing and it stuns you and puts you in place like you're frozen in time. But this, you're going to run into it and a mini Tassadar wall is going to pop up and you've got to go around it. And it looks like a tectonic plate in the ocean floor.
Oh, nice. I love that idea. And I mean, she had Entangle in the Serpentine Cavern raid. So this is a really cool flavor on that. You're not locked down, because a lot of characters have lockdown and entangling at the moment. So this is a really neat way to do it. And I love that you can run straight into it. And I guess it doesn't stun you, but it stops you because then you got to repath around it.
Yeah, so I'm thinking more of like a map objective kind of feel, right? Or even trying to do combos with your static charge where people are trying to run away or run in different directions from each other, and you can kind of wall people in a mini Tassadar way, like a basic ability mini Tassadar way.
Oh, cool. So this is an immediate cast on the ground, and it's just completely invisible from the time it's laid until it's revealed.
Correct, yeah. So like map objectives, trying to take Dragon Shrine, stuff like that, where you can kind of block off one of the entrances, and people got to go around it. I don't know. I like stuff like that too, obviously. I've put a bunch of that stuff in some of my kits.
Oh, totally. And could you imagine if you had 4 stacks and you could build a little wall around an objective and then just laugh?
Yeah,
As they try to grab it, but they can't.
We could just call this game Heroes of the Fortnite.
Exactly. There we go. And she's got the lightning. We just change it to purple.
That's right. I love it. All right, let's get into some heroics on my kit. The first one is called Pipe Dream. So when activated, Lady Vashj will summon 3 waves that will circle her for a short amount of time. All enemies that are close enough to her when this is activated will be swept up in the waves and begin circling her in a clockwise direction. While being forced to circle Vashj, they will be unable to attack and will be placed on the opposite side of her when they are finally freed from the grasp of the sea.
This reminds me of that who was it in Legion? That boss. It was a great fight. I loved how crazy it got, but getting to him, fighting the electric storms on the beach, and then his little tidal waves.
Yeah, that's exactly where I got this from.
Yeah, I love it. No, it totally fits, right? Because we probably won't have that guy. But Vashj, she would absolutely use this.
Yeah, you got to control the sea, right? And I remember that exact battle on Eye of Azshara. It's the final boss there where the waves are circling around. They don't really pick you up like this does. But in Heroes, why not pick them up and drag them all the way to where they're on the other side? Kind of like a mini Diablo toss that takes more time. I mean, this would be a weird ultimate to kind of play with. But then think about your static charge, right? You can static charge an enemy, throw them in this wave, they're circling around you, and then they're not in control of their placement, so they could be static charging all of the other enemies that are around you because they're just kind of moving around in a circle.
Oh, dude, sick. You pass it around and then you shock them as soon as it's done. And think of your ability to displace the enemy team, right? If you only want 2 damage dealers, you could probably pick up 2 of them, get them out of the fight, and hopefully your team wins it by that point.
Hopefully, unless it's my team, and then you've got a little bit more fighting to do after that.
You just chucking healing potions into the water, and then it mixes with the water, so it keeps them healed as they... I mean, where are these interactions?
Come on, Blizz.
Right? Where are these interactions? If a healing potion breaks in water, would it dilute it enough to ruin the healing capabilities?
If a tree falls in the woods, does anybody care?
Find out next week.
All right, my second heroic is called Undertow. So Lady Vashj will select the direction of this ability by dragging a large arrow on the battlefield. That will charge the current of the Nexus, forcing players to run against it in order to stay in place, or run with it to go faster. Basically, you're placing a large conveyor belt on the battlefield, but it looks like water current or air current in the game. This ability can be talented into later in the battle to allow it to affect friendly heroes as well. So you can just put your own quote-unquote conveyor belt out there.
I like it. How big is this conveyor belt in comparison to the Volskaya? What are you looking at here?
I think maybe the medium length ones, like maybe mid lane on the sides, those ones there, kind of like that length. Maybe you can definitely talent into it to create it more, but I also think it's wider. I really think in order for you to make it feel like it's heroic, you want it to be wider. And think about what you could do pulling enemies into you, right? They're running away. You could throw this conveyor belt down and it pulls them all into you, or at least they're trying to get away from you. Or the opposite, trying to chase people down if you talent into it. Throw a conveyor belt down in front of your team anywhere on the battlefield. The tech is there, Kristen.
I like it. And I like the idea that this is going to be huge. So even if you were to run to the side to try and get off of it, and you're an enemy and you're being pulled back, you're going to be pulled pretty close before you make any ground.
Yeah. So that was my idea, because I like the conveyor belts too. I think it adds a cool flavor to it. If I had to sum this whole thing up, I'm just saying you're a burst assassin in this kit that can do some awesome combos with your static charge and your lightning strike, using tectonic plates on the battlefield to kind of direct where your enemy teams are going. And then of course your heroics, which is also displacement and then more displacement. That's
the sea, right? And I mean, if you've ever felt a rip current, you know how powerful that can be. So I think that is a perfect way to sum up the ocean, right? Give her the power of displacement.
Yeah, and that would be really fun to play with too. Maybe not so much to play against, but who knows? Let's get into some specialty skins and dance moves here. Let's start with dance moves this week, and I'll go first. My dance move is a slow motion underwater ballet. Now,
I like it.
yeah, that's about it.
Oh, so any specific moves you would want included in this ballet? Any poses?
Maybe like a tourjete, some of those flippy moves.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite one? And if you watch ballet, or if you've ever seen a ballet, is there one move that you see and you go, man, that's cool?
So there's a ballet dance move called a fouette turn, which is like you've seen it a million times, and it's what you think of like those Russian dancers that come out and they put one leg out and they're just spinning themselves in a turning circle. They're just turning and turning and turning and turning. But underwater, that wouldn't be very impressive.
It's still something, right? You're still up on your toe. Well, I guess her snake tail.
There you go.
I like it.
There you go. Snake tail fouette turns. All right, Kristen, what's your dance move?
I was thinking she would do a snake dance, right? But not with her. She would lean down close to the ground and she'd pull out her little pipe, and her hair snakes would come out of tiny baskets on the ground and they would dance to her music.
From her head? Like they're coming down and then coming into the basket and she's...
It would be ridiculous,
That's
right?
great.
She'd have to get close to the ground for her hair snakes to have any length to make it look like they're popping out of baskets.
It's great. And does this song play?
The Blizzard take on it, but yes.
That's right. We don't want to have any copyright infringement. So that's where we go with that. How about skins?
All right, so this one, this made me laugh. So dosh is, or at least I don't know how current this slang is in Britain anymore, but it's slang for money in Britain. So I'm going, you know where this is going, with Lady Dosh. And she'd just be decked out in green. She would have those cheap plastic sunglasses with currency signs, and the type of currency would change with the skin color. She would ride waves of cash. The electricity would turn into strings of currency symbols. And when she turns you into stone, you become solid gold. She also has a diamond grill on her teeth if you zoom in enough to check it out.
Okay, first of all, I didn't know anything about this slang term dosh, so I'm going to immediately begin using it, unless it's vulgar, and then I won't.
I looked it up just to make sure. Just to make sure. But I can look it up again, listeners. But yes, British, a slang word for money. The word origin is unknown.
Okay, so here's my second question here. Can there be a skin variation for cryptocurrency, and instead of her riding huge waves of cash, she can be like riding huge waves of video cards?
Yes, absolutely.
So cool. Very funny. It's how we come up with some of these skins. I really don't know. My two skin ideas.
What rhymes with Bosch, man?
That's right.
I wanted to do Vash the Stampede, but it's Vash, not Vosh.
Oh. Well, hey, you can do whatever you want.
It's true.
My skin ideas, my first one is Mecha Deep Sea Sub Vosh. So, like, turning her into some sort of, mecha sub thing. I don't know. That's for the artist to figure out.
It would work, right? And then maybe her snakes, they're little submarines on the end, but they're the little air tubes.
Or like
and she's a sea lab or something.
Or you know how some of those subs have claws that come out and like pick stuff up off the Titanic?
Yes.
Like the jewel of the sea off the bottom of the floor of the Titanic.
And they're flipping the headboard.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, so that's my first idea. My second idea is going after my occupation skin, of course, is a marine biologist Voss. So basically just in a scuba suit. So just scuba Lady Vashj.
That's awesome. So no legs, right? She would still be Lady Vashj, but this is if she were in the WoW real world and had to have a job.
Yeah, and she would be a marine biologist, went to school for a really long time, studied all of the Murlocs and decided to go out there and just, be an educational conduit for young Naga.
I love it. So would she try to educate the masses about the Naga, or would she be part of that Dita group with the Murlocs?
Oh, yeah. I'm going with the Murlocs on this one.
Okay.
Yeah, because
always the best choice.
Always the choice Kristen would make, I do think. All right, after those specialty skins and dance moves, we can say that this hero was officially forged.
HeroesForge.
All right, Naga. We need a Naga in the Nexus. We need a Draenei in the Nexus. We need a Innkeeper in the Nexus. We need some Hearthstone characters. There's a lot of stuff out there still, Kristen. I mean, we've been going for years and years and years with this game, and they just keep coming out with cool new heroes. And the list is getting shorter of things that they must include.
That's a good point. A lot of the major, there's even this hilarious drawing that people keep adding to, and it's a dinner table with WoW characters that should be in Heroes of the Storm, all of the classics, and on the wall are the pictures of the heroes that have joined the Nexus that used to sit at the table. So Kel'Thuzad was taken. He's no longer there. Ragnaros is on a picture on the wall.
I've never seen that. That sounds awesome.
I'll have to find it and share it with you, but it's this adorable little lineup of all of the must-haves that aren't quite in the Nexus yet.
Oh, share it with me. That sounds really, really cool. Oh, that's really, really neat. Yeah, but are there any Naga on that picture that you know of?
I think so. It's been a while since I've seen it. And I mean, silhouette alone, she has a much higher chance of being put in the Nexus. Also, there's a Dota 2 character, Medusa.
Yeah.
So why not, right? It was originally a Warcraft mod, so just bring Vashj in and you got it.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think silhouette is the main starting point for them to be like, okay, this is a cool new silhouette that we haven't seen before. Let's bring it into the game. And she's got great lore and a great character that a lot of people know. And the first female ranged assassin with a bow. That's not 2 crossbows.
Yes. I don't want to say yes or no. I feel I'll get flamed whatever my answer is, because technically you can argue that Tyrande is an assassin with her owl.
Again, people are just super passionate about this stuff. I love it.
Yes.
Very cool. We're going to call the show there, but before we do, Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs when you're not doing this show?
You can find me at _Kristen Ashton _ at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
Very cool. And what are you working on your streams lately?
We are pushing through the Deus Ex series. We just finished Invisible War, and we're going into Human Revolution, which is a prequel, but I don't think it's going to have any aliens, and I don't think it's going to feature the Illuminati fighting the Knights Templar in a bid for world domination with an advanced human AI.
You don't think it will have those things?
I don't think it's going to have those things, and I'm really sad.
I don't know anything about those games, so I think that's a very specific thing. Like, I could say, it's also not going to have Pokemon that I can take pictures of while I'm riding a boat on my Nintendo 64.
Exactly. It's kind of like that,
And
right?
that makes
It's one
me
of
sad.
those experiences. You just got to play it to really kind of go, oh, yes, of course. The stolen gold of the Illuminati taken by the Knights. We discovered it, everybody. We found the gold.
That's great. Make sure you check out Kristen's streams. They are a ton of fun, as always. Just a total blast. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. Like I said before, we record every Sunday at 12 noon Pacific on twitch.tv/Amove TV. Make sure you check out Amove.tv for more information on all of the great esports and video game podcasts that are over there. You can send us an email, contactheroesforge@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @ForgeHeroes. You can download the show on any of your favorite podcasting apps, and make sure you check out our website, which is heroesforge.club, where it has the backlog of all 100 114 other episodes and other kits that we've built to bring these characters to life. And you can even check out our Deckard Cain episode, which was way back at the beginning. I think it's episode number 10. Check it out over there and see what our thoughts were way back when we didn't know when we were going to get Deckard Cain, and now he is finally here. A huge thank you again to all of our patrons on patreon.com/HeroesForge for supporting the show and helping it grow. And Kristen, final thoughts on Lady Vashj.
I think we need her because we need more Greek mythology in this game. I am stunned with how little Greek mythology, but any mythology, right? They've done a great job focusing on their own mythology.
Yeah, they have, and adding these little flavor pieces in here make it even better. So bring it on, bring on Anaga, bring on all those other things that we talked about, and we'll just keep creating soapboxes over here on HeroesForge that we can stand on and say, this is what we want. This is what we want. And maybe someday...
Give us more. Give us more.
And maybe someday we'll get it, just like the Heal Yourself Deckard Cain. I hope that all works out. Have great games this week. We'll catch you next Sunday, and we'll catch you all in the real world.